announcement again. That we are live. Okay. So this, opening this one up. Okay, let me check if there is no lag on the stream. Start. Let me check if there is no lag on the stream. Okay, there's no lag. Perfect. Okay, let me sit into my original position so I can see you. Okay. See you, Gary. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please let me know if there isn't any lag and you can hear every one of us, and so we can start. Hölgyek, urak, kérlek szépen tudassátok velünk, hogy kezdtünk éjjel, és nincs lag, nincs probléma. Okay, you can hear me well as well, right? And see me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Geri, nincs lag? Egyáltalán nincs lag. Let me check because you know it's early on my end, so people are just nincs jó. Okay, we got the response. Nice. Okay, let me know if we can start. It's okay on my end.
Yeah, take it away.
Okay, let's go. Welcome everyone in my very new episode of Dev Live Show. I'm joined today with the creators of Northanda Chronicles, an awesome game that we will be discussing today, and I'm very thankful and very honored that you have accepted my request for this video interview. And like I'm always saying, let's start with a little bit of introduction, so please introduce yourself for us. Sorry.
Yeah, sure. I'm Kim.
Okay.
Isaac.
Okay.
We're brothers from Australia.
Okay.
We've been working together for about 5 years now on games, specifically Northanda Chronicles as Hyperfocus Interactive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So my very first question after that would be that I'm very much interested in people's origin about video games. So if you can think back, what was your very first contact with video games? Question, of course, goes to both of you.
Well, I think my contact was a little bit earlier than Isaac.
A few years at least.
Yeah, we've got about a 9-year gap, pretty large for siblings.
Okay.
And my first experience would have been DOS games. My
Okay.
dad was bringing home DOS games from work.
Okay.
I was excited to try something new.
What about you?
Yeah, I think my probably earliest memories would be probably the Nintendo 64. I know we had a Sega Genesis controller somewhere around the house, but I never actually saw the console itself. So I don't know where that came from, but yeah, definitely playing Ocarina of Time and Pokemon Stadium and everything on the 64 with Kim was probably my earliest memory of gaming in general.
Okay. And so what was the point at both of your life when you decided, okay, I want to make games, not just, play them, and how it all happened for you?
Yeah, I was totally into the idea since I was young. Since about this time that I was playing Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and Pokemon and everything, I just fell in love. And I used to take a notebook to school, and with my friends, we would come up with game ideas. We had absolutely no hope of making, but we just loved to come up with ideas. But then I kind of forgot about it until I got to college, and I went into STEM, and I got into programming, and I realized, I've actually got the ability to make these games I used to love the idea of making. So for me, it was about 10 years ago now that I kind of got more serious about game dev.
Okay. And what about you?
Yeah, again, pretty similar. I remember when I was quite young, me and Kim used to make board games all the time. So we were always actually creating games together. So for many, many years, and we would, print out a little bit of cardboard on a pizza box or something like that. And then we'd make a board game rules and everything. And that was always fun. But I've always liked to just create in general. I mostly have done visual art and design and so when talking to Kim, about 5 years ago, we started talking about making something together, and I didn't know much coding at all or anything like that, but I'd always enjoyed the idea of making something like a game together.
Okay.
And then so we ended up making an app to teach people how to have perfect pitch.
Okay.
To like hear a note and be able to understand and remember recognize. Sorry, that's the word I was trying to think of. And then so we made that, and that went pretty well. And then so we started making an actual game after that.
I see. Okay. So, and were your like family and very close friends supportive about that you are making your own game now? That you start making games? How do you feel about that?
Sure. We've had a lot of lovely support from family actually with it.
Do you think it matters to have surrounding people that are supportive about your decision if you make games?
It helps massively.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
especially indie dev, it's pretty isolating. It takes a long time, and you're often working more or less in the dark. People can't see what you're making until it's something. So when you first get started, you've got to have a lot of intrinsic motivation, and I think having family support you through that is super important.
Okay. And what about
especially absolutely incredibly important. I think especially on a $0 budget as well. You're not bringing in as much money as you probably could otherwise.
True.
And so you need a little bit of that support and family network and friends and family and relationships in general just to be able to actually get through all of that. But yeah, it's definitely important, I would say. Like our nephew actually is incredibly excited about the game. Lachlan, he's about, I think, he's just turned 16 actually nearly, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, he messages every now and then. He's like, "When's the new update coming out? When's the game coming out?" And it's like it's nice just to see,
fan,
like
right?
he's actually, yeah, exactly. It's just lovely, honestly, lovely to see that he's having a good time and enjoying it.
Yeah. We gave him a very, very early prototype on mobile, like 5 years ago now, just a really early prototype, and he's been asking about the game ever since. So that's been a bit of motivation.
Nice. He will probably love when the game will have the full release, right? So he'll be playing that a lot. Nice. Okay, and were there times when you like wanted to stay or take a step back from the game development, even though you have the supportive people around you? How do you feel about that?
At times we've been developing for a long time, so there are periods where it's life gets busy or otherwise crazy, and we've had to take short breaks. But overall, I think we've been able, because we're working together, we've been able to cover each other's slack and give each other a break when we need, and it's worked pretty well throughout this time. It's taken us a little longer because of these types of periods, but yeah, it's been okay.
Okay. And what about you?
Yeah, especially during like the COVID period and everything, where everything kind of shut down and there wasn't really any productivity going on as well. So like trying to keep the business going as well. We do media on the side, photos and video and stuff like that. And we did websites. We've pivoted between like I think 4 or 5 different sub industries of media at this point. But yeah, that got pretty tough. I think at that point, and then but it as Kim said, it's easy a little bit as well because he's in Belgium, I'm in Australia, so he's asleep, I'm awake, and so when I'm asleep, he's awake, and so we can kind of do. It's almost a 24-hour, but it's almost like a 24-hour kind of spread of work as well because someone's always awake at some point.
We're always working.
Yeah.
Okay. And what was the hardest part about like the process of making your own game? If you can think of that.
What do you think, Isaac?
I mean, budget has definitely just been an absolute struggle. Marketing in general, on a $0 budget, like, and never having any experience in that or knowing anyone who does. I think connections in general is a huge thing that is helpful to have, and just like pre-established networks. But yeah, I think that marketing would probably be the biggest struggle.
It's probably the evil for all creators, right? It's a skill that most of us creators have to pick up and struggle with it.
Yeah, you can create the most amazing thing, but if no one's seeing it, does it exist to the world? Like,
the loneliness of the creator. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, probably.
And so, like, what can you think of that? So, what skills have you picked up into other territories of your life as being a game dev, and how have you two changed as a person in other territories of life as being or as from being a game developer?
I think taking on a project of this size and complexity, you
Okay.
have to learn so many skills
Okay.
in all sorts of areas, and I think that that's probably the most useful thing that's come out of this is that we've really had to learn to jump straight into the deep end on any topic, if it's art or music or programming or any even marketing,
Okay.
any aspect of game dev. You just kind of have to give it your all, have the confidence to jump in.
What about you?
Yeah, definitely having to learn every bit of the trade as well. But art has actually probably been my biggest skill increase compared to when we started 5 years ago.
Okay.
I would have been 17 at the time, so I was just out of high school, and then didn't really have much experience with doing art. I did logo design for like a year, but that was all graphic design and stuff. But I never had proper training in any way. So just having to learn over the course of years has been great, I think, and definitely better now than when I started. I looked back at some of the other art that I did back then, and
You
I'm like,
see
oh
the
gosh.
that you evolved,
You
right?
see,
Yeah.
you see the program. You don't notice it like every week at a time, but like you
Yeah.
go back a couple of years, and it's actually
Was it
like
scary, by the way,
blows
to
your mind.
start like making art from the scratch for you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
And what pushed you? What pushed you to not to give up yet?
I think I knew that I could do it.
Okay.
I knew that there was something there that I could understand it. I just didn't have the technique or the know-how
Okay.
to be able to do it quick enough, really. That was, yeah, if it took me 2 months to be able to do one background and one something, it wasn't good enough to do that quickly. So we relied a little bit on purchase assets and stuff for different things and prototyping, but then we've started to replace all of that now, and so we're almost got all custom background. I think actually, yeah, all of our backgrounds, all the character art, everything is starting to get there.
Okay. And so, sorry, I had some noises up up in the other room, but yeah. Okay, so and how do you feel about like the other aspects of the game that you have been working on? Question goes both to what other skills you had to pick up, and as for these skills that you picked up, did you rather want it to like have a mentor that teaches you for those skills, or would you rather go with yourself and your brother to in order to like learn these skills by yourself or by the help of your
Yeah,
brother? It of
yeah. I
course
think
question goes both to you.
yeah, yeah. Kim's definitely been my mentor for almost all of the coding sides of it. I did a very short like college course. So it was a couple months in coding and stuff, but it
Okay.
was covering very basic like booleans and integers and everything. Like it wasn't anything complex. So every question I've had has kind of gone routed through Kim and Stack Overflow. But yeah, with the art, I think that probably would have been helpful to have more than just YouTube, like someone able to guide with that. But yeah, what about you, Kim?
Okay.
Yeah, for me, so I came into this with some development skills already
Okay.
and also some music composition. So
Okay.
I've written the soundtrack, but for me, it was actually the game design side. Like it's art and science at the same time, and it's really tough to to tell if an initial idea is going to be fun once it's implemented. And so that's been a huge part of the learning process for me is upskilling in game design. I would have loved to have a mentor, even just someone to bounce ideas off and
Okay.
test if my idea makes any sense. Because that has been
It
that has
does
been a lot.
because your game looks awesome, so it does probably. But
Thank you, thank you.
yeah,
Yeah, but
It's
that's
really
been a
kind.
lot of iteration. There's been plenty of ideas that didn't work and that needed to go back to the drawing board. And yeah, so some sort of mentorship for that would totally be appreciated.
it's
Yeah.
like swimming in the open sea. I'm not sure if you're heading somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So you talked about the music, and I saw on the Steam page of your game that you're putting so much effort and so much love, not just to other parts of the game, but to the music itself as well. Let's talk about that. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think that music's super important for setting a vibe and kind of like the soul of a game, and movies as well. And I would say for Northanda Chronicles, taking a lot of cues from things like Howard Shaw's soundtrack for Lord of the Rings. Uh, just that kind of the emotionality you can get out of that is so worth it. And so yeah, we put a lot of time into making the fantasy world feel more realized through the music.
Okay. What do you think?
Yeah, Kim's done all of the music himself, which has been very, very impressive to see as new areas in the game come up, and he's created different parts and different themes, and it's all kind of got that same motif going through it. And I actually like to listen to it every now and then. Like I'll just leave if I'm working on the game, I'll have the main menu open in the background, just kind of listening to it, and it just kind of gets me in that vibe and the mood of the world, and that's actually quite helpful. It's kind of setting me in that world to be able to make the art and everything for it. It's inspirational.
Okay. And so what about the story? So when you first started working on this game, what influenced the story of your game? I'm wondering about that. How it all started for you to think of the story of the game.
So the game started initially without a story.
Okay.
We had a lot of mechanical ideas we wanted to work with, and then as we were building it out and as we were writing music for it, we're like, this feels like it could be a world. This could have a story to it. And I have a friend who is a novelist.
Okay.
And so he has been amazing and chatted with us just free and started to come up with story ideas, and we've kind of worked out this world and this plot line, which we're still implementing in the game, but we've got more or less written up. And he's also been amazing. He's Tom Atkinson. He's produced a prologue short story for us and some character backstories as well. So the idea for the story itself has primarily come through Tom.
Okay. And so what about the gameplay? So when you first had the idea of your game, what influenced the gameplay that you were talking about? That the gameplay was first handed to have for your game.
Yeah, the first idea for the game came through me, and it started initially. I was looking for something to make. I knew I wanted to start a game development project with Isaac and teach him programming and for us to work together. And I was just testing out ideas. And initially, I wanted to make a tactical party turn-based game, and I wanted to have sort of more Darkest Dungeon style abilities.
Okay.
But as I was playing with that, I thought, it could be fun if these abilities were more randomized, maybe cooldowns were randomized, with some more variety to it. And I pretty quickly found I was just redesigning cards and a hand of cards, random cooldowns. And so I thought this is just a deck building game essentially. So that's actually when we made the pivot into deck building game. Okay. And I already loved Slay the Spire, put hundreds of hours into that. Rogue Book, Monster Train.
Nice. So all the games that you have been inspired from, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
And so when I was thinking about, how could we keep this party idea, this deeply tactical feeling, but give it into a roguelike deck builder, one of the key ideas really at the start was just how much fun it could be if you could mix and match heroes and have these deep synergies appear kind of emergently out of the different heroes. You've got a party of 3, and they've each got a role, and if you can switch different heroes into that and see how their cards interact, that could be a fun time.
Okay, I see. Okay. Were there times, by the way, during the development process of your game that two of you would not agree on a topic due to the game? As brothers,
a few times. Yeah, a few times. There's been different ideas, but I generally will just defer to Kim in a lot of cases, unless I'm quite passionate about the idea. But I think he's got a little bit more of a sound knowledge of how all the different systems interlink and everything as well. So it, but most of my ideas have come about for the game design anyway, when I'm just playing, and I'm like, oh, this could be actually a really fun idea, or what if this did this? And so I'll suggest it to him, and it'll be very crude and simple idea, and then he'll be like, oh, actually, well, it would be cool if this system did this, and then it'll all link together. And I was like, oh man, All right, cool. I came up with that. Sure.
And vice versa, I'll implement
Yeah.
some very programmer art implementation of some game, and Isaac will come in the next day and make it look pretty. And maybe we have disagreements on exactly how it should look, but he always approves it. So
Okay. So we can say that you help each other grow, right, in the process.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think you need those. I think you absolutely need those disagreements as well. Like if
That's
you
how people
100%
grow,
agreed,
right? At the end of the day.
exactly. Yeah, like if Kim never questioned any of the art that I did, I would still be making the art I made 5 years ago, which is like, you know,
Understandable.
yeah, and I'm sure the same is like, you know, if
even in programming, honestly, yeah.
Okay, so I believe that most of us creators who make any kind of art, like form of art, not just games, but let's talk about games now. They always not, even if it's not intentional level, but they tend to make messages and stories and music from their own experiences into the game. Is it true for your game too that you had some experiences in real life that were put into the game, or you have a very special message to give for the players with your game from your own experiences of your life, like loss or love or something like that? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I do think that that's worked in throughout the game, particularly in the story with Tom.
Okay.
A lot of the soul of that story comes from Tom and his experiences as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about you guys? So have you had like some experiences that you put into the game as for the gameplay side or for the music side? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think especially on the music side as well. The gameplay has been more or less designed just purely in the pursuit of fun.
Okay.
But then the world that we're setting it in, we're putting a lot of emotion into. And yes, on the music side, I think so. I think that I mean, as I was saying, the Howard Shore soundtrack for Lord of the Rings has been a big part of my life. Actually, ever since I first heard it, I've been completely in love with that. It made me fall in love with Lord of the Rings. It was a huge part of that. And so I guess trying to put in that sense of inspiration and that soul into the game as well.
What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think absolutely the inspiration part of it is like the driving factor, and I think a lot of it, and family and friends as well, working together with different things, and we have a few little references and Easter eggs and different little things that are in the game that are part of from people we know or part of our lives and stuff. Like we have, you know, gems that you can socket into cards, and one of the first ones that I thought of, my partner's name is Jade, so
nice.
you put Jade as one of the gems,
nice,
and a few other little things.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. Nice. Okay. So as for like going to another question, have you been planning to release your game or on other platforms too? Because you were talking about mobile, right? But are you planning to release your game on consoles, for example, not just PC?
Yeah, we'd like to do PC and mobile, and we'd love to do console in the future if porting becomes feasible for us. Yeah.
Okay. And what about physical editions, if you can think of that?
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool if possible.
It would be
but
cool, like to have these cards, merchandise, or creatures and some
like
figurines or something like that. Because the lore of your game is so rich and so many cool creatures and characters to see. So it would be nice to see it physically.
Yeah,
that would be really cool. A little like 3-player party game or something like that. That would be actually
like
really
that.
fun.
Because you told us that you were designing
we
board games,
make board
right?
games.
So it would make sense at the end of the day, right? Yeah, to go
Full
back
circle.
to that era of yours. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I can
really
see
cool.
this game being a board game too, and that's a promotion, right? So it's a skill that you can pick up by that again. Okay.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Yeah. Okay. So what was your favorite part of the process of making your game? If you can think of that. Question, of course, goes to both of you.
Yeah. Getting closer with Kim has actually probably been one of the biggest impacts to my life personally. We were always really, really close when we were younger.
Nice that you are saying this.
Yeah, we were really, really close when we were younger, and then kind of I moved up to the main part of Tasmania. Yeah, I moved up. Thank you. I moved up to the main part of Tasmania with our parents, and he stayed in main part of Australia, and he stayed down south with his partner, and then we just kind of didn't really talk actually for
hard, by the way, for both of you.
Yeah. I was quite young, and you'd only just turned 18, I think, at that time
I see.
as well.
Very, very hard then.
Yeah, and then so we actually hadn't talked properly for like, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 years, and then
That's a long
we
time.
started
That's a
making
long
that.
time.
Yeah, especially we were quite close as young. And
Was
then
it hard to pick up the connection after that 5 years? How do you feel about that?
not too much, to be honest.
No,
actually, it felt pretty natural.
Once we started.
Yeah. So we started working together with the like the Pitch Perfecto was the name of the app that we made, as I said, and we just kind of haven't stopped talking every day since then.
We've always had one project on the go.
You got back to your childhood, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, exactly.
I love that. Nice. And what about you?
Yeah, I mean, completely agreed. It's been great to have Isaac back in my life and to have something to work on together and building. I mean, we both, I think, feel very proud of finally building this game together. We kind of always had this idea we might build something together, and having this tangible product that we can play, can chat about, we can enjoy together. We sometimes send each other screenshots of our runs in the game. And so, it's just been a great experience. And yeah, being a mentor in some ways has been great, and learning from Isaac has also been great. So,
okay,
agreed.
Could you guys see yourself in the future making games together? Not just this game, but other games too, like a career?
Yeah, I think absolutely. Yeah, that'd be incredible if we could.
Okay. And what other games would you make in the future, or you have already like plans and ideas for other games too?
Maybe too many ideas.
Okay.
Yeah.
A list, right? A long list of ideas.
Yeah, we
you gotta narrow it down.
Love to do. But,
I hope that you're writing those thoughts down, right? It's important at the end of the day. Okay, and what ideas do you have if you can share us or share with us?
Yeah.
No spoiler, of course, but
we've had so many ideas, but one that I
what's your favorite?
would love,
if you would pick?
Maybe one we'd love to pursue was something like a simulator game where you have a simulated globe, and we could use an LLM to generate like quests within this world. Basically, you could conduct like science experiments on the world and answer questions that are generated based on the data of the world. Like, why?
Like you're God and creating the whole globe, right?
Yeah, something like this. You get a question like, why is this creature behaving in this way? What's wrong with them? And you have to go use your tools to investigate.
That's a refreshing experience, by the way. I cannot think. I can only think of one game that made similar idea or had a similar idea on. If I'm correct, it was on PlayStation 3 and PC. It was like it was also like you had this hand of the god, and you could create like terrains. And, like,
was that Dust? Dust was the game, I think it was.
I'm not sure what the name was. The game, I remember that it was promoted by Sony, and it also came out to PC as well, and it was in the PlayStation 3 era. So
I remember the game actually that you're talking about.
It was very nice because it was like a very new experience for strategy lovers, who loves these strategy games, because it was like a more low-fi vibe, chill vibe strategy game where you could actually create something without going into fights and war and all this stuff. But
exactly.
So it's similar, and it's a very refreshing experience, and it's a rare experience, to be honest, because
there should be more.
It should be more. Yeah, exactly. Okay, that's very nice. And would you also like to have music again in that game?
Exactly.
Lore and music. Okay.
Exactly what you were mentioning, more of like a lo-fi vibe.
Okay.
Yeah, just a sort of chill experience.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the music is such an integral part of like just the vibe and the feel of any game, and especially just even sound design and things like that, just to make it feel.
Players can connect to music and remember the game by music, right? So it's very true for all the soundtracks of games. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And by the way, do you do music other than making music for games as well? If I'm correct, right?
I have in the past, but currently, no, I'm dedicated to the music.
We all men do this, right? That we lose our passion behind,
Yeah.
like music. I played the violin for 10 years and I
Oh,
I
wow.
stopped it. Yeah, so my
Yeah.
advice to you is that what I want to do as well is to pick up music again.
Going. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, in a way, this has been a good outlet for that actually,
Mm.
Okay.
because I could have ended up in a
True. True.
purely programming role, for
True.
instance.
True.
But in
True.
this context, I get to actually
Mm.
bring it back, so that's been really fun.
Mm. Yeah, that's actually kind of been the best side about working together on an indie game as well, is we've been able to pick the parts that we actually are really passionate about, and it feels productive, and we're actually creating something as well. It's not just sketches or anything like that. It's actually going into something that will be hopefully
You see
seen
your
by
craft,
many
right?
people. Yeah, yeah, like it's tangible. It's
Yeah.
becoming something, because we're working together. The parts that one of us doesn't really enjoy and the other one does, we're able to just pick up on that, and you don't. It's fun for both of us to be able to do the parts we like.
Okay.
Mm.
What skills would you like to pick up in the future for this game, this exact game that you still like feel like you have to, learn this or that
Hmm.
in order to create something
Uh,
more?
Hmm.
I would love to learn from Isaac and get better at art,
Okay.
so that we can produce more and more quickly, and we can better realize the world we want to make as well. Because if we're limited to slow asset creation or something we can
Hmm.
buy, we can't necessarily make the world as we see it. So I'd love
Hmm.
to get better at art.
Okay.
Yeah, the animation and like effects and stuff is something that I'm currently working on, getting better at as well, and implementing more of. But all the animations in the game have been done by us. But yeah, just implementing more of those and learning more and figuring out how to get different things to go to different ways in the coolest way possible, so it's engaging and everything would be even better.
Okay. Okay, so since you mentioned like you have picked up games from the old school era and you started playing games in the very old school era where games were much harder than nowadays, how did you manage to balance your game and what was the goal with the balance of the difficulty? Did you wanted it to have like more difficulty settings? Would you wanted it to be like harder or hard or normal? What was the goal by difficulty question?
Yeah, the demo so far is balanced to just kind of give a general experience,
Okay.
something that you can actually make your way through the act and feel what the game is about. But what we would love to do in the future is have some sort of progression through difficulty, something
Okay.
similar to Slay the Spire's Ascension, where you can, when you pick a party, you can choose the difficulty that is equal to the lowest difficulty you've completed with that party. So you have to kind of take each hero through in a party and beat the
Mm.
game as you work up through the difficulty levels.
Okay.
Would be the ideal.
Okay.
Mm.
And how do you feel? Oh,
Yeah.
so no, go for it. Sorry, sorry. Sorry.
That's right. I was just going to say I'm very excited to once we get the demo out and we're working on the other acts as well more, and
Okay.
being able to actually have a full run through all the different areas and everything with the different enemies and different types and everything. And I think there's a lot that could be done with that. Part of the story is the shadow of chaos is slowly corrupting the world, and so being able to have more crazy effects and different things, I think would be really fun.
Okay. Awesome. And so you have spoken about the enemies. What creatures were your favorite to design and to see come to life at your game?
Mm.
Hmm.
My favorite. One of one of the ones that I think is quite fun is the rabid treant. He's like a just a little kind of like bouncy tree who's been infected with some fungal spores,
Okay.
and the chaos as well, and he's been corrupted, and he's I don't know, just the way he bounces and everything is just really quite fun. He feels agile, but he's like this little old dead tree, and he's yeah, it's quite fun.
Great.
And what about you?
For me, it would probably be the Forest Titan,
Okay.
the boss,
Actually,
boss
yeah.
of the first act.
Okay.
It was just a fun concept to design. He
Mm.
transforms into different enemies from the forest into sort of spirit versions of them and
Okay.
mimics their attacks. And it was a fun challenge being able to create this enemy that could switch between all the different forms. And yeah, I just like the theme of him.
Mm.
Okay. Okay. So we also speak about so many ideas having put into your game, but I'm wondering, were there some ideas that you have to cut out from your project in order to keep going with your game? Or you felt that, okay, it's not belonging here anymore and we might pick up later?
Yeah, we've had a couple of mechanical ideas a lot
Okay.
come and go. We've had times where the heroes had individual equipment, found that
Special abilities as well.
Okay.
special abilities. We've gone through many variations of mechanics and realized either they add too much complexity or they just weren't fitting in, or they could be better put into something else like the artifacts or a status effect. And we've also had to scope down quite a few times as we get carried away with ideas.
Were you sad about that you did that?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Is there a
Yeah,
plan to pick up those things that's been scoped down by like an update or like a future project or something like that?
Yeah, with equipment, especially is one that we're still thinking about different ways to implement that. Whether or not there's different checkpoints or something where you can like an army barracks that you can pick up different equipment and stuff like that. Before it was just cards that you would pick up as normal, but it took up too much of the hand and it didn't really fit. So different implementations of that would be fun.
We would also, if we had the resources, we would love to expand the run itself to have sort of an overworld map, maybe a hex grid sort of exploration with the party. We would love to implement some mechanics around that, especially because, as Isaac mentioned, the world is going to become more corrupted as you progress through it. So this first act is at least corrupted, and you get to the end, and there could be some fun with the effects, like entering corrupted terrain or need to minimize the amount of corruption your party takes on and things like this.
Okay. And so if you can think of like the core aspects of the game that you would like, if you would have to like promote your game, what would you say about that? So what's the core aspect of your game? If you could pick like
I would say it is the fun of the deep strategy, mixing and matching different heroes and different cards and seeing how they can come together in ways.
Yeah, the different synergies between all the different characters working well together, and because you have the different roles, they have to actually support and defend and everything differently.
The powers of the brothers. See, I told you the message and the experience, right?
yeah. But
yeah,
speaking of changing mechanics, as you were saying before, something that is actually quite core, I think, to what makes Northanda Chronicles so unique and different at the moment as well is you have the three heroes in three different roles, but they share a combined hand, but they have a separate mana system. So they and instead of regenerating to full mana each turn, you actually only get one back. So if you have to defend, but it costs two, you do that, then you only have one the next turn, or you don't get full strength every turn. So you actually have to strategize, and you can wait, and it's a lot more methodical, I think, in that way. You're not always at full power.
So what was the goal of the length of your game, if you can think about that?
The length? I would love for a run to be one run, or the whole progression as well.
No, the whole game, like.
Okay, yeah. I mean, there's so many times that I picked up a game and I've fallen in love with it for like a week, 2 weeks, maybe even a whole month, and it's just your whole life. I would love someday for Northanda Chronicles to have enough in it that you could really do that. You could enjoy it for a couple of weeks and just love exploring it.
And what updates can you think of, like you would like to bring to the game that you mentioned that you would like the game to be like 1 month or 2 months long?
That I think that will primarily come through as we add acts, and we've got the full 3-act structure. We would love to update in the future, producing new dungeons for acts. So at the moment we have just Act 1 and we have just the forest, but we would love to have options of which dungeon you actually face in Act 1, and we could switch those in and out. And also, as we add new heroes, we get exponentially more possible party combinations. So eventually, we would love to have 9 heroes to select from.
Nice.
We'd have a huge.
With I think Kim worked out the other day with 3 heroes, you have 1 party. With 4 heroes, it's up to, was it 6?
It's
7?
4. It's 4 at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
if we
then
go
4 parties, and then you go to, how many was it? 40, 42 possible with how many heroes?
Yeah, when we add in the next 3 heroes, we should have 43 parties possible. So,
Yeah.
Okay, that's a lot.
Yeah. So exponentially more possibilities with the full game as well.
Play it, by the
Yeah.
Nice. So what did?
And we would like
so go for it. Sorry.
we'd like to have progression per hero as well, so you
Mm.
unlock their cards as you go, and also new heroes themselves could be unlocked probably through this sort of meta currency we have that you gain throughout the game, the Eternium. But I also was thinking about the idea of some characters that get unlocked through mystery circumstances, something like Smash Bros. That I've always loved the experience of unlocking a character in Smash Bros.
Sounds nice.
And I was also going to say with modability, hopefully should expand the game quite a lot. We've made it quite good modding API, quite in depth through Lua, and that's all accessible publicly. So we'll have a documentation and everything, and so it should be very easy to expand, and so that should really extend the runtime.
But how would you like to manage to be very strict about the mods that people don't ruin your game, because there are some trolls on the internet,
Yeah, well, we've implemented the modding through Lua, and we've sandboxed it fairly well, I would say. Been pretty careful about that. And yeah, at the moment, the modding is not as full support as we'd like, but you can, for instance, add in an entirely new dungeon, as many new enemies as you want, heroes, cards, everything like this is fully moddable.
Okay, I see. So as you also mentioned, working on this game together, could you get very emotional if people, had opinions about your game, even if the opinions were negative or positive ones? How do you feel about that?
I think that when we get a negative one, there's often some grain of truth in there, even if it may not be expressed as well as it could be. And that's helpful for us, I think. When we get a positive one, of course, that's lovely. We've put a ton of time into it. We've been working a lot. I think Isaac feels this way too. We've been working a lot in the dark, so to speak. We haven't been sharing our work for some time, or we've been just working the two of us together. So when we get some positive feedback from the outside world, it's really nice to validate.
Yeah, huge burden off our chests a little bit, I think, and everything like that. Just actually knowing what people think about, basically your child, I think is very, very reassuring.
You're scared that people will hurt it.
Hurt
him or her. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Okay, so we discussed a lot of topics. Can you think of any other topics that we haven't discussed? Because I have some more questions, of course, but is there anything that you would like to pick up to talk about your game or about your experience that we haven't mentioned? How do you feel about that?
Nothing on the top of my head.
Okay, what about you?
Yeah, I can't really think of anything. On the top of my head, not sure. I'm sure as soon as we hit the stream, I'll be like, I should have said that or that.
It's true for myself, don't you worry.
Yeah. I'll be thinking about it for days, I'm sure.
Okay. Okay, and what's the plan for the release date? Because I saw that it's this year, right? So, but is it this year or next year, or what's the plan for that?
Yeah, the plan has been this year. It's possible we'll push it back to the start of next year. It kind of depends on the outcome of our marketing efforts at the moment.
Okay, so as for more questions, so what was the hardest bug in your game that you had to realize and polish? That took the most of your time to find a solution for.
Actually, wasn't there was something recently that you'd been thinking about for months, and you kind of cracked it at one point, and I can't remember what it was.
Classic shower thought. I cracked it in the shower.
Yeah.
Somebody sings in the shower, but you crack codes, right? That's the passion at the end of the day, so don't you worry about it.
Yeah, we have a lot of potential for bugs at the moment because of the complexity of the modding setup with Lure, and we've got C# on the other side of it. And we have a separated, we have the game logic separated from the animations, so that we can have the game logic pre-calculated, and then the animation and UI happen after. And sometimes we get things related to that are actual head scratches. The most recent one, for instance, was we had when you hover an enemy and you want to get their tooltips, you can't actually get the tooltips as they are in the state of the code right now. You can't get dynamic tooltips because the animations are playing out over time. So if you fetch the tooltip as it is now, you get something ahead of the animations. And so coming up with a system where we could essentially cache the tooltips for each moment in time was a huge problem. Yeah, so it took a long time to think through that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. And so, as for going the engine part of your game, like what helped you choose the right engine for your game, and what was the idea of choosing the engine that you use now?
I think that the main idea behind using Unity at the start was just simply that I had prior experience in it, and that I was teaching Isaac. I was going to give him tutorials, and Isaac really took to it very quickly. He's an incredibly fast learner.
Thank you.
Yeah, to my benefit, and so we just ended up sticking with that and working our way through. And it's been a great tool for us. It's done everything we need, and there's so much community support and knowledge out there. Helps us through problems we face.
Okay. So what about the graphics? No, go for that. Go for that. Sorry. Go for that.
I was just gonna say, with Unity in general, like it's just been incredibly user friendly, and Kim having a great understanding of it already has. Yeah, it was like there was no real need to have a look at anything else too much, to be honest.
Okay. And so, what was the idea behind choosing the graphical parts for your game, the graphics?
Like the style?
The style, yeah.
Yeah. I think in general the fantasy kind of tone came naturally with it, and then we started. I think it was a little bit like 2.5D, 3D top-down thing with Kim had started on little tiles, and then we slowly progressed more to the 2D side of it, and then the visual style initially was quite limited by what I could accomplish. So it was quite simple, flat shading and everything. But we've started to move a little bit more away from that. Recently, we've just upgraded like our start run screen, and it feels a lot more 3D like depth, but it's still a 2D image. But yeah, I think it's just the necessity of what we could create at each point in the development cycle, I think, has been kind of dictating the style. But it's overall been quite a consistent fantasy, but not too. It was like almost what was the inspiration? It was Roman as well. Kim, was it? I can't remember. You said it very succinctly one time. It's hard to describe. You don't really think about like the exact style all the time.
Yeah, exactly. As we've been working, we've sort of had the idea in our minds of something like Tolkien meets like historical Rome.
Okay, interesting. Okay. So from the topic of your game, let's get back to a more personal question. I hope that you won't mind it. So you mentioned that you two are living in a very different place, right? So when was the last time you actually meet together in the real connection, not just through internet and through the work?
I think it would have been about 2 years ago now. Around Christmas. I think I came down to Tasmania, the little island on the south of Australia, and stayed over for a day or two while visiting our parents down there, and so that was 2022, I think. I think so. Man, time has flown. Time has flown really quickly, actually. Yeah.
True. Are you planning to like visit each other more and more often?
Yeah, it's quite difficult to get over to Europe or to Australia from, it's not, I think it's a 14-something hour flight or 20-hour flight, depending on how long your stopover is.
It's two of those, so it's a whole 30-hour trip. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, it's 30-something hours. So it's quite a process. And I think flights and stuff are a few $1,000s. But I'm planning to go over to Europe next year with my partner, and I'm part of the Scouts as well. So we're going to a big camp over there, and so hopefully traveling around, and I'll be able to catch up with Kim and everything in Belgium. So
Nice.
it'll be fun.
Nice. Love to hear that. Nice. Okay. Would you regret, by the way, if you have not started making your own game? Question goes both to you.
Would we regret?
Yeah, regret if you have not started making your own game.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that we've talked about this before. We're really glad that whatever happens with it, we got the opportunity to make a game together.
Yeah.
It's just something nice.
That's what I was asking. That's we should also not just make a game, but physically be together as well. Because I can tell that you guys miss each other. So we're talking to you, and it's important at the end of the day, because you'll regret if you would not have spent that much time with your brother.
I think it's quite like literally the definition of a passion project. Like, it's something that we've actually just loved creating, and I think it's been not just developing a game, but it's also actually just been like an essential kind of support
and
network for each other. And I think it's been incredibly good for us.
Nice.
Yeah, I think we're about a year into development before we realized we had something we could maybe sell.
And not for free, right?
We had made a couple like really small just mini games and stuff for not Itch. We released them on Itch, but it was for like Game Jam, Weekly Game Jam, I think it was called at the time. We've made one called Cluck Cluckum, which was a little chicken farming simulator where you compete with a little AI to be able to you start your farm and you'd bet on chickens and stuff. And the soundtrack for that one was quite fun.
Nice. Okay. And so what are your plans after, like, you release the game and you released all of the updates? Would you like to take a break after that, or would you like to instantly go to another project?
I think I would like to once we've released this game, we would support it for quite some time. We've got still a lot of ideas and things we would love to do even post-release. But if we're able to, I think we'd both really love to move on and keep making games.
Okay. So what made you or made your relationship with your brother so special? What's the recipe behind that? What can you think of that? Because I can tell that a lot of people, if they are brothers or sisters, they are not willing to take the first step to realize, okay, it's my brother or sister and I miss him or miss her, and I should take the first step, to not just judge him that he's not taking the first step, but I should do that and take a closer look that we should spend more time with each other. What helped you? What can you think of, okay, we talked about that, yeah, sure, but the game helped you as well. But what else? What made you so special that you care about each other? Because it's rare, I can tell that. I met so many people who are brothers or sisters, and they are haven't seen each other for 10 years, and they hate each other. So what's the recipe? No, I'm not joking. It's true. It's true, and it's so lovely to see this, and I'm flattered and very happy to see this.
Yeah, definitely know people like that, but I think we just have always been naturally really, really close and similar since we were kids. Even though that there's that age gap of 9 years, it has always felt like I was kind of part of his generation, always accepted, and just it was always easy. We'd make up. Actually, we made up a lot more games than I actually thought of. Just then when we were young.
You now realize, right, that it's more games than just one.
Just fun little games. We'd play living room wars, grenade wars with the Christmas tree baubles. So, the little ornaments off the Christmas tree, Mum hated it. They were very nice ones, but you take off the little stem off the top of the bauble and you throw it, and it was a grenade, and you have to jump behind the couch, otherwise you blow up in 3 seconds. It was a lot of different things, but we were always just I don't think there was much to do in Tasmania really when we were growing up as well. So we, needed to keep each other occupied, and so we were always very, very close in that way as well.
Yeah, to be creative,
Yeah.
right? At that time too, and now too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Have fun and love life.
Yeah, I think if anything, maybe our age gap actually helped us because we weren't close enough to squabble over anything. We just loved fun together and coming up with games. And we did live rural, so we had to kind of be creative and invent ways to have fun. As Isaac also said, we're very similar. We just sort of organically during this time we didn't talk to each other much while Isaac was a teenager. We organically got interested in the same things. One day we had a conversation. We were just chatting. We're like, oh yeah, we watched the same YouTube channel. Very interested in games and tech. Very organically decided let's make something together.
Yeah, it's really good because if I want to send him anything, he's already ready to talk about it because he's already seen it. But it does mean I can't be like, hey, look at this thing because he's already seen everything that I've seen. So.
Were there times, by the way, in high school that you had to defend each other? By the way.
Like no, we didn't actually go to the same high school. So we went to the same primary school.
Okay.
But by the time you graduated, I was already out, and then by the time I started high school, you'd already graduated high school. So there actually wasn't any overlap over there. So I think that was probably good because if I got your hand-me-downs, they would have already been destroyed. But 9 years later, so we were. Yeah, we were too far apart to be like generationally too different, but I think far enough apart that we weren't, arguing over the same girlfriends and stuff like that, or anything like that. It was always,
Okay.
Yeah, good age gap.
Nice. Do you feel like you are now at the right place of your life that you are more close to each other again?
Yeah, I think so. I think the same.
What was that? Sorry, I couldn't hear.
Me? Or
sorry.
The question was that do you feel like you find yourself again and you are at the perfect stage of your life right now that you are more close with your brother again?
Yeah, I think
it's a relief for you.
Yeah, definitely. And at this age, the age gap is now irrelevant. Unlike at school where we could go to school together. We're both young adults, and it's the perfect time to connect.
What about you?
Yeah, definitely. It's been, I think, essential in many ways, especially over COVID and everything, which is when it happened. Like there wasn't anyone else really around. Like I couldn't go out and make friends or anything. So that kind of support network was very helpful because I just moved to a new city,
right? Or forever.
Yeah. I just moved to a new city as well, and I wasn't able to go out and meet anyone or do anything really. So I didn't really have much else at that point. And so it's just been incredibly helpful as well. But just good to be able to reconnect in general. Like I didn't realize how long it had been when we messaged each other. I think I was at work or something, and Kim just messaged me, and he's like, hey, haven't talked to you actually for like a few years. I hope you're doing well and miss you and everything. And I was like, oh my god, sitting here on the toilet at work, and I'm just crying. I was like, I haven't seen you for years.
It's a nice story. I love that.
It was lovely.
Yeah.
Okay, so the question that I would like to ask also that since like you loved playing and making games together, are you planning to add co-op to your game as well? So both of you can play at the same time? Not just,
Yeah.
Once you.
We've actually thought about this so much. It's one of those things we would love to have in scope, but it's kind of found itself out.
Because it makes sense, right, with the party.
It's absolutely something that we would love to do. We've talked about how we'd implement it as well. It's just actually getting to the point of getting it in the game is getting there.
Harder than the idea itself, right?
It's harder than the idea. Yeah.
We would love that. It might be something like a post-release goal we would love to have.
Okay.
It'd be incredible. Yeah.
So you also talked about like you had so many ideas for characters, and what kind of characters would you like to add if you can mention some of them? Of course, without spoilers. If you don't want to mention, it's okay.
Yeah, I've got an idea in the works for a hero who will be focused around music.
Okay.
Yeah, something like a bard, but
You'll
more
put yourself
based
into the game. I told you.
Exactly.
And you will be the art
Yeah.
guy, right, in the game.
Yeah.
The next hero
Yeah.
who draws something or make
Yeah.
paintings with the power of the
Yeah.
paintbrush, you know.
Hitting people
I
with
see that. I
hitting
can
people
see
with a
that happening. Yeah.
paintbrush.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you down to answer some questions from my chat as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh.
Okay, let's go. Let's do that. Let's see if there was any question that I missed or any comments. Been playing the demo on Steam. It's great fun. Thank you, Ruthless. Thank you.
Oh wow.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Mini is asking. Oh yeah, so Mini asked in Hungarian that what was the point in your life and experience that made you do this game together. But I think that we talked about it, right?
Yeah. I can restate that. Yeah, we reconnected as young adults and as brothers, and we realized we have a ton of the same interests, and we've always loved games. We've loved games together, and yeah, when we're thinking about something we could do together, we thought let's make a game.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. She's also asking that are you both like the people who being able to like push yourself, or are you helping each other with that? Like who is the more one of you who's willing to push himself to his limit and the other one's helping, or is it true for every one of you that you are pushing yourself to the limits even if it's very hard situation?
Yeah, I think we're both very self-driven people. I think self-learners in a lot of ways. As Kim said, I've always kind of been a fast learner in myself, and I think we both, had been diagnosed with ADHD, and I think kind of jumping from one thing to the other has been actually quite beneficial in a lot of ways. Hence the name of our company, Hyperfocus Interactive. It's a symptom of our ADHD being able to focus on just one thing for many hours
so
and stuff like that. Yeah. It just we thought of it and it was like, yeah, that's a great name. We'll go with that. But yeah, I think we're both just incredibly driven, but I think having each other as well has been very beneficial to be able to, if one of us is feeling down or a bit demotivated or something, and the other one's just kind of ready to go, and I think we lift each other up in that way. So it's always in a bit of a good stasis.
Yeah, I think we both get really passionate about a project that we're working on, and we can get stuck into it for quite a while. But a project like this has been years in the making, and I think that's a little too long even for Hyperfocus. I think we've really helped each other in that way. Like we might drift off, passion disappears for some time, but if we keep each other going, it comes back. We have some new idea that we can't wait to jump into, and yeah.
Okay. Are you guys, by the way, playing together online games too, like co-op games or multiplayer games? That's the question for me now.
Yeah. We definitely used to more when he was in Australia and there was less ping. The lag is pretty horrendous. If we're trying to do anything like Steam remote play or something, I'll be like, turn left, and he's like, there's no turn there. Like it's just a wall. Like he's not at that point. But like online like web games and stuff like GeoGuess that we've been playing a lot of, and
chess.
Yeah, chess. Yeah. And things like that, where it's a little bit less independent of immediacy. It's been a lot. But we used to play a lot more on Trine. We used to play. I think we did almost the whole campaign of that.
It's a very nice game.
Yeah. A Way Out, I think, is another one. Yeah.
Way Out is also a very nice game. Yeah.
I was obsessed with Dota 2 for quite a while, and I dragged Isaac to play with me sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah, I was learning how to play Dota. I never actually really got too much into it, but we did Algorithm. What's his name? Aghanim's Labyrinth. What? I can't remember. Like a limited time game. It was really fun. Sorry, my cat's trying to get out of the door. Sorry. So feeder went off.
Who's the better player, by the way, if you have to choose in games?
In games in general, or specific Dota specifically, definitely Kim.
Okay, and in games in general.
I think it depends on the game, on the genre, probably.
We give each other like a challenge in every game. I would say someone wins, someone wins. We never know.
Yeah.
Until we find the game, and we're like, okay, you're better at that one.
Yeah. I'd say definitely strategy, like tactical, like Civ kind of games, Age of Empires. That like Kim wins hands down every time. But most other games are pretty fairly even, actually.
Okay. And what genres are your favorite ones? Question goes both to you. If you would have to pick, you can also pick more, like not just one.
Yeah, picking one would be way too hard. I think.
Yeah, true.
Games. Yeah, love games across the spectrum. I would say that the ones I've put my most time into would be MOBAs like Dota, roguelikes, Slay the Spire, Hades, Wizard of Legend, just so many roguelikes. And then also, grand strategy games, things like Civ, and also Total War games.
So can you picture yourself as a competitive player too, like not just a story-oriented guy, but like?
There was a time where I put in like just under 5,000 hours of Dota.
Yep.
There was a time when I was
that's a lot.
Good at Dota, but probably not competitive, no.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely would say I'm probably a lot more competitive than Kim in a lot of ways. Like maybe not necessarily in skill level, but just like in competition, wanting to win. Like anything with a challenge, I've always been very interested in. And like
in multiplayer games, then.
Yeah, I've always been very like I always hyper focus on any kind of reward based system in general. So like ranks and stuff are very motivating for me. But I think I'd put in probably a few thousand hours in Counter-Strike
nice.
and playing that, and very much enjoyed it. But yeah, definitely interested in like Tetris and stuff like that recently. Actually, I've been playing Tetrio and stuff like that for the last couple months, and I've probably put in like more than a week's worth of hours. Like it's just pretty constant. But
nice
anything with a challenge.
You guys are not just passionate about making your own games, but about playing games. It's very nice. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Inspiration
absolutely.
comes every time that you play, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think it's necessary to take those breaks as well and play other things and get inspired by other things. Otherwise, you're only just in. Yeah, otherwise it becomes a little bit of just kind of like a little circle where you're not expanding your ideas or anything. You're just kind of in that little area. So I think it's really valuable to be able to expand your reach and thoughts on that.
Okay. So going from this topic, how have your perspective changed as a player from being a game dev if you play games nowadays?
For me, I think that started early when I first started playing with engines in general. All of a sudden, game worlds, you start seeing how it's all put together, the Lego blocks, so to speak.
Yeah.
And there's good and bad sides to that, I would say. Sometimes I kind of appreciate like I'll see some effect in a game or some mechanic, and I'll just sit there and go, wow, that's incredible how they did that, or even wonder how they did that. And that adds to the experience, actually, I would say, like just appreciating it as an art form as well. But on the flip side of that, sometimes it can take you out of it if you really like the immersion of a game and you see how it's all put together.
You see you see a little bit more of the smoke and mirrors, I think. In the good and bad ways. Something that me and Kim used to actually do all the time when we used to play games at home was try and break them actually a lot. So I think we've kind of always tried to find we've always tried to find the edge of the world. Star Wars Battlefront 2, I think, on the PlayStation.
Nice.
We used to try and find every gap in every wall. We just run up and down with Boba Fett in his jetpack and be like, all right, I bet you know they didn't put something here, and we try and like get through the walls and get through all the different ledges and find the colliders on things and slowly climb up things we definitely weren't meant to. And I think that was we spent many hours.
Can go out from the map, right? We did that with my friends in Uncharted 2 multiplayer. We always try to experiment with the maps. It's such a nice experience.
Especially, I think in older games, it was a lot more common to find those kind of things a lot easier when they didn't have as many, like debugging and bug testing abilities, and they had very much crunch things and limited scope, and so I think it was a lot of times we just spend hours running up against walls and jumping off things.
Yeah, it's interesting that there was always similar mechanic if you wanted to go outside from the map and being able to shoot others from outside the map, and they could not shoot you in competitive games. There was like in cover-based games, you always had to like take into the cover yourself and to turn around and go into the cover again, and you with that push you could go out from the map. I remember that from old school Uncharted 2 times. It was such an awesome experience.
Oh, wow.
And I remember all the cheaters who went out of the map, we always went for them. It was a race against cheaters. Constant race against cheaters. It was so funny. Yeah. Okay. Nice. Is there any more questions, by the way, from my stream? Let us know. Van bármilyen más kérdés? Oh, there was. Sorry, I missed. Was there a time? So it was asked in Hungarian. Let me translate it. So were there times during the process of game development when you said, okay, this has to go to the trash can and we are not doing it, but then you picked up again and you said, okay, it's still happening?
Like the game as a whole or specific?
No, ideas.
Yeah, ideas. Yeah.
I think for the most part we've been pretty merciless. If an idea is not working, we know we have to throw it away quick because we've got a huge project and not that much resources to work on it, so we have to be quite discerning, otherwise it won't get done.
Do you note down those type of things to get back to them if you can?
Yeah, we have set up like a custom ticketing system where we can like put down or like gameplay related ideas.
Okay.
They end up in the bin, but they're still there if we need them.
What was the hardest part to let go? Sorry for interrupting you.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, for me, it was co-op was an early idea, so that was honestly one of them. We really would love to add that to the game, not least of which because we love playing co-op together, and it does fit the game so well with this party setup. But it was out of scope for us. And also it was quite late in the game that we came up with the new mana system where each hero has their own distinct mana pool and they regenerate one at a time. For a long time, they had a shared value just as they do shared hand of cards. And yeah, it was only about a year ago now, so many years into development, that we realized actually this works a lot better if you have different mana pools and you can distribute them between heroes. It lets them shine in their role a bit more. When one hero is out of mana, the other one might have some. So that was actually really hard to get rid of because we designed the game around that years. It's a kind of a genre staple, and we were so used to it. So when we had the idea we should split it up, it really took a lot of convincing ourselves. Did we make the right decision here? But we think it's better now. We like it a lot.
What about you? Sorry for interrupting you.
Oh, that's okay. I think there's definitely been a few things that you're like, I don't want to get rid of this. I've spent so many hours on it, or I've done this and that. But I think it's quite important to not be too precious with any little thing because you can always, we have backups and everything, so we can always bring it back. And just trying new things, I think, is quite good. There's been a few times when I've worked on a character or I've worked on the art of something, and one of our characters now, Flint, needs a bit of a rework. As Kim says, he has raccoon hands. He's just kind of like little raccoon hands flying around there. So I've been repainting him, but they're going to be sad to see the little raccoon go. But I think it's definitely needed. Almost done animating and painting him, and I think he's going to look a lot better in the new version.
Okay. So going back to the game that you mentioned, you play together, the Trine series. So there is a very interesting aspect in that game that there is a reader who reads up the storyline of the game. Would you like to add that to your game, because it would also fit with the lore, right, and the story? It would be also like a cool thing to have.
Yeah, that is actually one of the ideas that might come back.
Okay.
We have talked about this before, and currently out of scope, but we would love to have some sort of narrator. In general, we like having a bit of a humorous tone in Northanda. We've got that in the events mostly at the moment, the events that the heroes encounter. We've got some humor in the dialogue, but we would love to have sort of fantasy, but with a humorous tilt to it, narrator.
So if you mess up, that something will funny happen, right? Or some funny sentences that players should look for the better solutions. Okay, love that. Okay. Is there any more questions, ladies and gentlemen, on the stream? Let us know. Let me watch back the chat if there was any question.
Yeah, part of the narrator idea that we had as well was it was going to be like recounting a story told in a pub, like an old medieval pub, and this lady would be telling the story, and so whenever you die, because it's roguelike, and whenever you die and you start again, she's like, oh no, that's not how the story went, and then she goes back and rewrites it, and you start your new run, and she keeps rewriting this book, and it slowly gets bigger and bigger. She's telling the story.
Love that. I hope that that will happen to your game, because it's a nice addition, it's a nice touch. Yeah,
we love it.
Okay, nice. Na, hölgyek, urak, ladies and gentlemen, any more questions? Any more questions? We discussed actually a lot of topics here, so like I said, I'm glad that you were so honest about you as being brothers and then so close together. I appreciate your honesty about that you shared this story of yours, and I hope that you did not, or weren't mad at me for my personal questions, because I'm always saying I can be very cocky about these personal questions, but at the end of the day, that's my goal, because I think that it matters to see the actual human beings behind the curtain who are making these games, and that's my goal with the live show of mine. That people have to see that it's actual human beings who are making these games.
Yeah,
it's not just a click, that the games are.
It doesn't just apparate out of nowhere. It's coming from people, and I think hopefully we do a good job at being people. But I'm
sure.
I've been trying my best. But I think. It's good, and I hope people see that we do put ourselves into the game, and looking forward to actually.
I hope to see your characters in the game, the bard and the the master of paintings. Nice.
Leonardo.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Na, hölgyek, urak, bármi más kérdés? Any more questions before we go offline? Now, I know it's early on my end, so not a lot of people, those who are here working or sleeping, I'm not sure what they're doing, but Oh, Ruthless is asking an interesting question. Do you see yourself as any of the characters now that are in the game? Interesting one.
As I was saying, I've been repainting the character Flint, and I think I've taken cues visually for how to actually demonstrate the different parts and everything. So I think he kind of has my hair color and my eye color and everything. As I've taken photos of myself to be able to paint it. So I've kind of put a little bit of my own.
Or you just discovered it after you have done the artwork design?
I think Kim came up with the original design for the character, but I think I've slowly put in, as I've taken personal reference photos of myself to be able to animate and get proportions and stuff right. So I've kind of looked at that and I'm like, oh yeah, actually that would be good. And I've slowly shifted a little bit, somewhat accidentally, but I looked at it the other day and I'm like, oh, actually that's kind of my colors, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So I'd say a little bit in the visual style of Flint, but yeah.
Yeah. For me, definitely there'll be some aspects in this bard character, but there probably won't be human. I'm thinking that might be some other entity. Also, a bit in the central villain, Talus. Not the villainous side, but there's something quite human in Talus that I think helped inspire the story, along with Tom's story. He essentially has a large burden on him from, in this case, it's his family's expectations and the lineage he has a role with him being born into,
Okay.
and he doesn't feel capable of it. He feels pushed to seek help to do that. And in the case of the story, he is possessed by the artifact he seeks out to help him live up to his family's lineage, and becomes the villain.
Okay.
And there's aspects of that character that I put in myself into.
Do you think, by the way, it's important to show the good side of the villains in games? Speaking of that you have mentioned this backstory of the villainous character.
Yeah, I think motivation, at least, I think is kind of essential. The bad guy is bad because he is bad is not very compelling.
True,
I mean, it works in, I assume, very some circumstances where it doesn't really matter too much. But I think to have a motivation to be able to want to take down a person for some reason, the justification of can't think of the exact term, but like a justified understanding of why, but not necessarily that their solution to that problem is the best. I think is a good,
yeah.
Thank you. Any more questions that we might not talk about? Let us know. Let us know. Let us know. Let us know. Do you have any more things that we might have not discussed? The cat is one. The cat.
Yeah, I just saw my cat tail.
Right?
His tail just jumped in front of the.
You have to. I can see that you have to put the cat into the game.
He's running around in the back. Oh, he's jumping on everything. Well, good. Yes. Her name's Bread.
Bread,
like the
nice.
Food. Yeah, a little loaf.
But why?
Brown.
Why bread?
It was either that or cables, because she always used, when we first got her, she would just sit on all the cables. Anytime she saw them, she'd just go up on like all the HDMI cords and everything. But I don't know, she was just brown, and she would sit like a loaf of bread.
Okay.
And so I was just
nice.
I thought it was better than mittens.
You have to put a companion into your game, right? With the cat named Bread.
I've definitely considered it.
Nice.
You can put bread into the shop.
True. Like
a
cat is holding a bread, right? Or something like that, yeah. Or a card, yeah. Nice. Okay, any more questions? Any more questions from the stream? Let us know. Also, I'm not the best marketer, but don't forget to wish us the game, right?
Yes.
Try out the demo. Don't forget to do that.
That'll be amazing.
I will also highlight the Steam page again, because Twitch is weird and okay. Any more questions? Ladies and gentlemen, let us know. Let us know if you have any more questions. Do you believe in perfect synergy, by the way?
Sorry?
Do you believe in perfect synergy between brothers and between friends or in any relations? I know it's a hard one, but
yeah, interesting one.
I think there'll always be some differences in opinion or solutions to doing different things, but I think that's necessary to actually be balanced.
I think it actually helps us grow. The differences that we do have create a bit of friction, but that's generally the places where we both have room to grow or something to learn.
Yeah, which I would say is synergistic in that way. So I guess so in a way. Yeah.
Okay, I see.
Synergy over being identical is, I think, ideal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's a topic that we have not discussed, and I realized that we should talk about is that would you rather go with a publisher or publish your game yourself?
We're still very open to a publisher. We need a lot of help, as we've said, with the marketing side of things. We've got like pretty much the development locked down now. We've learned everything we need to learn, and we're just working our way through it. But yeah, the marketing side of things would be immensely helpful.
Okay.
And yes, we would love to get help.
Okay. And is it important for you to keep your freedom if you find a publisher, or the publisher finds you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think in the ideal world, we'd love to be able to, publish it ourselves and just have everything go perfectly smoothly with marketing and everything. But I think with the limited experience,
real world, right?
yeah, exactly. I think with the limited experience that we've had,
publishers.
yeah. There's people out there that have a lot more experience in marketing and everything, and they probably work at the publishers, so they would be quite helpful and would be beneficial, I think. But being able to work on what we want to work on, I think, is also important.
Okay. So we talked about like one of the hardest parts of making games is to promote it. What could be the case or the problem behind that, or what could be what could cause this effect that it's so hard nowadays to promote the games? What do you think about that?
I think saturation is quite a big contributor. There's so many game developers now with how easy it is to get into the industry and everything. There's just competing against like hundreds of thousands realistically, and there's only 100 top 100 games on Steam, so it's like being able to be part of that would be ideal. But I think that's definitely a big contributor to being able to get the reach out there. Is just also knowing how to get people to look at your game, especially some games aren't marketable in a visual way. Like they might be incredibly deep and incredibly fun and interesting, but you look at a screenshot of it and it's hard to tell what it is. So I think overall that would be one of the biggest hurdles. But I think, I think getting there would be good.
Yeah, I think saturation is a big part. Like there's so many great games, and they're all genuinely great, and they're all genuinely unique. But there's a finite amount of time in the day, so finding your audience and like, somehow letting them know they really would like to try your game is the tough part.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. Any more questions, ladies and gentlemen? Any more questions that we haven't touched or haven't discussed? Bármilyen kérdés, hölgyek, urak? No more questions. Okay. I think we discussed a lot of topics. So if there is nothing else that you would like to bring up, but if you do, let me know because I'm open to that.
What was your motivation behind starting these devlogs? Or these,
like I mentioned, I'm very passionate about video games. Video games matter for me more than just a hobby for other players. I feel like we are living in an era where so many people are playing games, and I call most of them like trend gamers because it's hard to have a conversation with them, and they are not open-minded like some people like me. I'm always saying this that I'm a dying out dinosaur in the video game industry of loving so many games and trying out all the games that I can. And I felt like we are also living in a cancel culture era where people like put their real life issues to the table when they are judging games. And it's not that they hate the actual games that they are playing, but it's like they are putting these problems, not aside, but to the experience of playing games. And I think that it also caused this for players because they do not see the actual people behind the curtain, like I said before, and that's why they are more of willing to judge games, because they do not see the actual human being in these games. And I'm feeling that it's a real problem. I sit down to join them, but I feel like a lot of people out there complain. That's game. It's so bad to see this, and I feel like at the end, for me, it was also like helping devs, because I feel like promote their games and talk about games. Personally, I felt like it's way more important to beings and get to know. It's always a refreshing experience, and everyone has which we talked about that, and you refreshing experience of like the brothership, and you reconnected after 5 years of not seeing each other and not talking to each other. A very nice story that people can learn from at the end of the day. I'm still that a naive kid who believes better with these talks and topics that we talk about, change for the better. So yeah, that's
really
and I hope that it will help, not just people, for the people who will watch see it live. So
I think it does.
Thank you.
Well done on starting something.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And thank you for the opportunity in our story and everything. And I think it's
and thank you, because I'm always nervous, that cocky about like asking personal questions. My guests will feel offended about that, but I feel like it's important to be share our own thoughts about not just games but the experiences behind that, because and it's the best stories are told by our own place, so
for sure
important.
Yeah.
I will need
Thank you very much.
some minutes of you, like I said. We're watching live and who will watch it as a at my YouTube. Thank you for joining us. To you as well. I'm very honored that you joined us. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Don't forget to wish us the game. Don't forget
the demo, and if you like it, please share. It would be
opinions, because I will get there. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.